Hello and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Nick Zulovich, part of the team at Cherokee Media Group and senior editor at Subprime Auto Finance News. In today's webinar, 5 reasons why online reviews directly impact your dealership's bottom line. We're going to learn more from Dan Wright and Rob Mayfield of Podium. Before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items for today's webinar. Please make sure you've dialed in using the phone number provided in your communication email, or you're able to listen via your PC speakers. We are recording today's webinar, and we'll make that recording available to you as soon as possible. You will be in listen-only mode for the webinar, but we will reserve some time after the presentation for a Q&A session. You can submit your questions at any time through the questions box on the GoToWebinar control panel. And if we aren't able to get to your question today, don't worry, because we'll forward it on to the team at Podium so they can respond back to you directly via email. And lastly, if you have any difficulty during the webinar, please click on the hand icon on the control panel to alert a member of our team. So with plenty of knowledge and recommendations to share, let's get right to Dan and Rob for our webinar. Gentlemen, the floor is now yours.
All right, thanks so much, Nick. We're excited to be here, and we'll cut right to the chase. We want to give you guys 5 reasons why online reviews are important and can directly impact your dealership's bottom line. So I'm Rob Mayfield. I'm a product marketing manager here over our reviews and reporting products, and I'm joined by Dan Wright. He is head of our automotive sales team, and we've both got several years of experience here in the review space, specifically over auto. So let's get going. So today's agenda is we are going to review just kind of some of the market trends that we've seen in the automotive space and how reviews are a part of that. We're going to talk about and learn why collecting reviews can increase your dealership's visibility. And we are going to discover how emphasizing your online reputation will drive your revenue and how it can help you improve your business. And then, of course, we are going to get into just best practices for how you can collect more reviews and improve that online reputation. So let's quickly just kind of talk about today's automotive market and opportunity. So you all know it's perfectly competitive. Dealers are selling pretty much the same exact product at similar price points. You've got a little wiggle room in there, but you've got to find other ways to differentiate yourself from your competitors that are just up the road. And also, car buyers have more information at their disposal than they've ever had before. I mean, with the internet, really it's just a matter of them doing some homework beforehand, and they can come in as a very educated buyer that's very motivated to move quickly. They don't need to come in and kick the tires as much anymore because they can know all the specs before they even walk in the door. So let's talk about how to stand out in that perfectly competitive market. So obviously, you've got to differentiate yourself on that car buying experience. You've got to make sure that you're delivering the type of experience that your customers want to have. And the way that you can help them know you're going to provide that experience is have other customers, past customers, go online and share their experience. Places like Google and Facebook are, of course, the most important place to show up, but there's also, for the more sophisticated car buyer, there's industry-specific review sites like DealerRater or Cars.com or even Edmunds, where they can go online and see essentially how other customers have dealt with your dealership and how they've felt about it. That can be for your benefit, or sometimes it can be to your downfall. If they're sharing negative things or they had a bad experience, that's gonna show to these prospective customers just what they can expect when they walk in the door. So I'm gonna have Dan kind of walk us through the modern experience of car buying for today's shopper.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. And I think it's important to understand, really what are the things that are impacting this change, or what exactly has changed. And I think this isn't on here, but it's extremely important to understand is the fact that Google actually just did a recent study and what they found is 60% of all automobile research has been done on mobile. So that is a huge jump. I think in certain areas of the country as well, it's probably even higher. But the reality is we think about what's changed is people are on their mobile phones and they are trying to find dealerships that really, work with them well. They're looking for cars. They're just more educated. They said that the average consumer now spends about 11 hours of online research. So that comes to things like the manufacturer site, that could be your dealership site, as you see through here. As that car buyer is trying to figure out, what am I going to do? They're going to research, hey, who are the dealerships near me? And then start reading reviews. Again, citing Google. In a most recent study, they found that the average consumer reads anywhere from 5 to 7 reviews before going into a dealership. Now, what I think is interesting about that is I've talked to a couple of dealerships. I read a study that was done by a company in the automotive industry that said, hey, walk-ins are still the #1 way. Digital's great, but it's never going to trump the walk-ins. But I think what we're not really understanding, or maybe just missing, is the fact that a lot of these customers may be walk-ins, but they didn't just one day wake up and decide to go to your dealership. They've read reviews. The average consumer is only visiting 2 dealerships now. That's a huge change. I remember it wasn't that too long ago where the family would hop in the car and we'd go visit 5 or 6 dealerships in a day. And now it's just gone down to 2. So again, as we think about where our consumers come from, even with these walk-ins, I would challenge or even debate the fact that, yeah, these are walk-ins, but I would ask every one of those customers, how did you hear about us? Or, hey, what brought you into our specific dealership? Now, the next point there is contacts your dealership via text or phone. So this is a huge, huge thing that we are focusing on and really trying to help dealerships understand is, yes, reviews are important. They get you found. But when the customer comes to your website, again, they're on a mobile device. And is the mobile experience as friendly as you think it is? What we're typically finding in the customer journey is that it's not. Customers either have to go fill out a lead form, they have to call, they're put on hold. It's a really awkward experience. And then to this last part here where it says visits the dealership in person, there's a lot of disconnect with sales reps in the automotive space where, customer gets online, they'll read a lot of reviews, they'll chat in all their questions. They come to the dealership and the first question they get is, hey, what brings you in today? Customers do not want that type of experience anymore. And companies like Amazon, Uber, they've really ruined it for us in the automotive space. If anything, they're just challenging us to become better. Again, you think of like a recent Uber experience. When I go meet my Uber driver, I know more about them than when I go to a dealership, and that just shouldn't be. The fact that I can see the star rating of the Uber driver, read their reviews, I can see who's picking me up and what's going on. Again, these are the expectations that customers have when they visit your dealership. Now, let's talk about, kind of this process after. They come visit, they get some information. The most important thing anybody in sales understands is, do you have a scheduled next event? Hey, that's great. What else are you going to do? Send a appointment via text. We found that 20% of appointments actually hold better if there is a text message invite, because it just makes it easier. Obviously, then customer makes a purchase, and the next thing that's so important is leaving a review. Now, there's a lot of questions about when we leave that review. We're going to get into this later, but I'm just going to kind of tease it out there. It's important to understand that we're not reviewing the car, right? We're reviewing the experience that the customer had. So the question dealerships need to ask themselves is, when is the best time to ask for feedback if I'm trying to get the experience of what it's like to purchase a car here, not how was the vehicle. So we'll dive into that a little bit more and talk about what we have found in our research to really just make sure that these reviews aren't just, it's not about just getting 5 stars, it's really customers leaving paragraphs of information so that you're the dealership that customers want to work with because of the reviews and ratings you get. So with that, we'll talk about really how this impacts your bottom line here and kind of shift gears into really the research that we have found and how it helps you and things to pay attention to as well. And again, it's not just the star ratings anymore. There's so much more. And lucky for us, Rob has studied this quite a bit, works close with Google, and can give us some more information and knowledge into really how reviews rank into that area.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dan. So reviews are one of the fastest growing signals that determine where you're showing up in search. So, other things that determine that, of course, are things that are listed on your website. Do you have keywords? Do you have links out to reputable sites? Things like that matter. Did you match the search terms that the customer is looking for? But reviews are a fast growing signal, and they've grown year over year for the past 5 years. And they're only becoming more important because they really do influence buying behavior. So that first part of that process that Dan walked us through was really just the customer journey where they are searching for you. They go online, whether that's on their mobile phone or on their computer at home, and they're searching for dealerships. Maybe they know the make or the brand that they're looking for at that time, and that's included in their search. But really, you just want to make sure you're showing up for those relevant searches because these people are motivated buyers. So some of those review signals or the things that matter most in reviews are recency, meaning do you have kind of a steady influx of new reviews coming in? Studies have shown that reviews that are over 3 months old seem irrelevant to customers. They understand that your team changes, your business changes with time, and so more recent reviews are a lot more relevant to these customers as they look on your website or on your Google My Business page. Frequency is another thing. This means that you're not just getting large batches every once in a while of reviews. That's definitely something Google can kind of tease out, and that's very telling of people who buy reviews, inauthentic reviews. That's something Amazon's really been working hard to fight against, is you don't want to get these large batches of reviews that come only, once a month or every other week. You want a nice steady flow of these new reviews. The quality of reviews, this is something Dan kind of mentioned, is paragraphs of good feedback that have, rich content, not simply, I had a great experience, but things that mention, the sales associate they worked with or the type of car they bought or, specifics about how easy or hard it was to find your dealership or how quick financing was. Things like that can actually help customers make a decision. And then, of course, quantity. It's easy to know which is the better dealership when you're comparing two. They look similar from the outside, a customer just searching online for the first time. But if one only has, 10 reviews and one has 200 reviews, it's very clear which one does more business and satisfies more customers. So these are kind of the most important review signals to consider as you adopt a review strategy.
So Rob, with that, I think it's important maybe just to understand as well, and since you've done research here, is what about responding to reviews? Does that play a factor in here? I'm sure there are people who are wondering that as well, or how do we deal with the negatives? Like what tricks or thoughts do you have in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great addition here. That's a big thing that plays into quality. You'll notice if you go to a Google results page right now for dealerships or businesses, the sort isn't always by the most recent reviews. It's by most helpful. And a big signal you can give Google, I guess, is that you respond to those reviews. They see that is a real authentic customer interaction with a business, and it's going to help that review rank higher. So it's great when you respond to your customers, because it shows that those are real customers that you've dealt with. And then, of course, negative reviews come in, and that's just part of business. And it's not something to shy away from or hide from. It's really something to learn from. And because of this ability to connect with these customers who may have had a negative experience, it's really giving you another chance to win back their business. Maybe they had one specific sticking point that made them unhappy. You as the manager can jump in there, respond to that negative review, and try and take that conversation offline. And in many cases, we've seen this with a lot of our customers, they are able to actually turn that review around and turn that person into a satisfied, happy customer, because they go above and beyond to fix whatever it was that bothered that unhappy customer in the first place. So let's move on to our next reason for reviews impacting your bottom line. But Dan kind of touched on this, just that online reviews help increase your walk-in traffic to your dealership. This is kind of a simple sales funnel type metric, that the more you're showing up in reviews and the more your reviews are convincing people to come in, it's just going to increase how many people want to come in and work with you, especially if you are the obvious choice. Like I said, if you have a lot more reviews than your competitors or just a significantly better star rating, they're going to choose you. You are the obvious choice. As you can see here, 3.3 stars is the minimum star rating that most consumers will even consider working with. So if you're not above that, definitely start working on your review presence, because you're probably getting disqualified from even being considered by a lot of these customers. So.
And I think on that note as well, and we kind of hit on this before, is a lot of people ask, well, hey, does this matter? What difference does it make? And look, we get it. This is probably stuff that you don't spend a lot of time at because you have so many fires you're trying to put out. But look, here's the data, right? 50% of local searches on a mobile will result in a visit within 24 hours. That is so powerful. And we've got the data to back it off, obviously, that we'll send out after this. But you need to understand at a dealership that the people who are coming to your dealership were probably doing a mobile search no longer than 24 hours ago. And how are you engaging with those individuals? Are you even aware that those individuals are out there? 18% of that, again, is going to be a purchase. That's huge. That's you talk about where can we make a difference? How do we double down? Take the guessing out of it. Use these numbers, because it's really going to help your dealership, especially in a changing market, which is really what I want to segue into here is the fact that, again, the market didn't just one day change, and nobody's really leading it except for the consumer. I think obviously companies like Amazon, Uber, Airbnb have changed the way that people think about doing business. But it's important to understand too that this isn't something you can shy away from. And mobile searches for best now have grown 80% in the past 2 years. That's huge. And as a matter of fact, a recent change Google did is if I type in dealership near me, I get a result. If I do best dealership near me, it's going to drop anybody who isn't in a 4-star rating. I mean, that's huge. It's something where if you're not there, you're just going to be dropped immediately. So again, think of it in the terms of, Google is trying to do what is best for their consumers. And as a dealership, you didn't ask for this to be built, right? I mean, nobody's sitting there thinking, man, Google, it would be awesome if you built this to give us a competitive edge. It's just the fact that Google, in their attempts to stay relevant to their customers, is trying to deliver the most helpful information. So as online search and mobile search continues to evolve, it's important to understand or to at least really try and separate yourself out from those individuals, which is why you see local listings, that other information there. Again, if you're not involved in this, or if this isn't a part or a talk track at your dealership's group level, make it a priority, because it's going to be, probably one of the things that's going to be the differentiator in the coming months, if not, years, from what we're seeing and hearing from Google. So again, a reason why to be aware of that and really making it important.
Yeah. So jumping on to our next reason, it's just online reviews influence purchase decisions. And I'm sure all of us have experience with this, whether that's we're shopping for something online through Amazon or we're looking for a restaurant to go to. We read those reviews, we look at the pictures, we see what other customers have said. I mean, we've done our homework, we've done our research, we kind of know what we want. And as soon as other consumers can validate that this is a good choice or it's the choice that's going to make us happy, we're way more likely to jump on board and be motivated to make that purchase. So some of these stats here, 93% of consumers say online reviews impact their purchase decisions. That's huge, and I think it's only growing. And then, of course, 82% of consumers say the content of a review. So going back to that quality content, that it has influenced their purchase. They want to know that they are going to have the experience that they're expecting. Next reason is online reviews give you better insight into what customers care about.
Yeah, I think this is a big one, and Rob, probably something a lot of dealerships, maybe in just businesses in general, don't take advantage of, is actually just reading the reviews that their customers are leaving, right? I mean, as you talk with businesses, how often do dealerships or even businesses even read the reviews to understand what their customers are saying, and what are they finding when they do read it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great point you bring up. I think each one of these reviews, as they trickle in, one a day or two a day, sometimes they feel like a little blip on the radar, and it's hard to see trends. So if you can really tease out, things that are recurring, things that get mentioned on a regular basis, your customers are kind of the cheapest and the most candid feedback that your company can get. They're going to tell you exactly why they bought or exactly why they didn't. They don't want to do business with you again. They're not going to, pull their punches or anything like that. And so I think it's important that you are using this whole batch of quality feedback to make sure you're improving, how you're communicating to prospective customers, and also just fixing things that are bothering your current customers so that you can continue to retain them. Something that we have within the Podium tool is a sentiment analysis tool, basically a way to tease out these trends, see what is being mentioned in positive reviews and negative reviews, and see how often it's mentioned. Really, once you start collecting a lot of customer reviews, it can be really difficult to see those trends, and this is a great way to do it. You can gain deeper insights into what's good, what's bad. You can see those themes from your customers and just see what you need to fix and what's going to take your business to that next level. Our next reason here is online reviews help improve business operations. So kind of jumping back to that sentiment piece, but like we said, that feedback is going to be key in helping you identify what processes are really bogging down your business, that are bothering your customers and preventing them from returning to you. The stat here, 85% of consumers leave reviews to help consumers or the business. A lot of times, if you just go online and maybe you want to look at your own reviews or the reviews of another business, you can tell that those reviews were written either with the business in mind. They'll say things like, just a word of advice if you want to, if you want to continue to stay in business, da 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 da. A lot of customers write it as if they're talking to the manager themselves. Or you'll see a lot that are directed to other consumers in the future. Things like, avoid this business for this reason, or if you don't like this, avoid this business. So I think it's important to see those reviews for what they are. They're really key information to help you improve.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for businesses because, we always talk about, we're aware of other review companies, and there's a lot that like to put this review gate up so that, hey, if you get a negative review, we're going to park it on the side, and then that way you don't have to worry about it. And Google is taking a stance against it and said, hey, we actually don't allow that anymore. And if we find out, we'll just get rid of those reviews. And I think why companies love that review gate, or why they think they need it, is because nobody likes to be told you have an ugly girlfriend or boyfriend, right? It's personal. This is my business. This is my baby. How dare you say anything bad about it? But I mean, look, the reality is people want you to succeed. And if you aren't looking at the feedback you're getting and then asking yourself, was this our fault? I look at this top thing here, employees step up their game. I love sales. Live and breathe it for a while now. The greatest thing I ever hear from sales reps though is, hey, why didn't that customer buy? Oh, it was a price issue. Really? No, it wasn't. You probably did something wrong. So when customers don't purchase a vehicle and leave a review, that's great insights. It's great feedback. We dealt with a dealership a year ago where the service center just kept getting negative reviews, and their feedback was, well, nobody's excited to go to the service center. Well, change it, right? Like, figure out why it is. And what they found was there was an employee who was actually really mean, and their name got mentioned all the time in reviews, and the negative ones, and they finally fixed it and said, hey, you need to change. Here's what people say about you, and if you can't fix it, maybe this isn't a good spot. Those are the things that you need to look into, because way too many dealerships now think, oh, we're just going to game it, or we'll get this product that we can just, it makes us feel good because if it's a negative review, we can try and fix it. That is not the purpose of it, right? I mean, if you want to get better, if you want to be the dealership that everybody loves, read your reviews and then look through and ask yourself, where do we need to improve in the business, or the things that we can change and really, try and take advantage of. So with that, what we want to end on are just 7 really, really great ways to take advantage or take hold of your reputation. Some of this may be familiar, some of it may be new. Really, our goal is just to give you the education, the knowledge, so that you can literally, after this webinar, start doing things with no money. You don't have to do anything except for just some of these things. Again, the tip number 1 is just freaking ask for reviews, right? You're always going to think of a million reasons, or it's awkward, or whatever it is. Again, 77% of consumers will leave a review if they're asked. And it's because they want to help other consumers. You think about the fact that we now live in a day and age where customers and consumers post information on almost an hourly basis, right? Facebook, Instagram, people talk about what they ate, let alone what else is going on in their lives. So why wouldn't they want to share this? So the first step is just creating a culture in the dealership where everybody asks customers for feedback. And it does have to be a culture shift. I think, where a lot of people get it wrong is they just think, oh, well, Tom over there is so great, or Susan just always asks, and we're going to rely on Susan. It's got to be a culture shift of just, we always ask for reviews. So first tip there.
Yeah, and as you saw, just because someone's willing to leave that feedback doesn't always mean they will. And so that's where kind of these reputation management platforms really come into play, and why Podium was built is make it ridiculously easy to leave that review. If you ask them and they're happy to leave a review, they agree to it, but sometimes they hop in their car, they get on the road, they don't think about it ever again. So if you can kind of create a way to make that a seamless experience and a frictionless experience, you're much more likely to actually get them to follow through with that review. As you see here, removing even just one step in that review process can increase the conversion by 20%. So Podium's been built and optimized in a way to try and remove as many of those little steps as possible, so that we can get of course, as many customer reviews from your customers as possible.
And again, I think, Amazon Prime has really ruined that for a lot of us, where literally with one click, I have something showing up on my doorstep the next day. So if your customer experience or your customer feedback platform doesn't have that ability, if it's 3 easy steps or 5 easy, we're beyond that now in this day and age. And I told you we'd come back to this. Here we are. When is the best time to ask? Again, we're asking ourselves, what experience are we trying to get online? And the reality is after a customer purchases a vehicle, people forget stuff. If you could tell me what you did 24 hours ago, I'd be amazed, right? It's hazy. You probably don't remember names or faces or anything there. So it's really important. What we have found is right at finance or right as soon as you're walking around the car, that is the best time to ask the customers to leave reviews. Some people will say, oh, well, what if they're on their Wi-Fi? Don't worry, they're on a cell phone. It's not going to matter. They'll be on there. And the other thing, too, is these people are on their phones anyways. Finance always takes long. I'm sorry if you're in finance. It's just the reality of the world we live in. But it's going to take a long time. They're going to be on Instagram or whatever anyway. So that's a perfect time to just say, we're so excited to get you into this vehicle. If you could just take 10 or 15 minutes to leave us some feedback while you're here, we'd really appreciate it. Leave it at that, right? Again, so what about oil changes? Hey, we're going to go ahead, get this process. By the way, while we're pulling your car up, would you mind just leaving us some feedback? That's great. They've gone through the experience. They know what it's like. They remember names and faces, and they're going to be able to share that online.
Great. Next tip we have is walk customers through that process. Just set expectations right out of the gate. When you are asking for that feedback, let them know why it's important to you. Like Dan was saying, frame it as feedback, not a review. This really is feedback to let you know what you did well, what you could have improved. Let them know when they're going to get that invite. Like you said, the timing really does matter. If they think, oh, this isn't coming till, 2 days after I've left, they're a lot less likely to leave that. But if they know, hey, I'm going to send you an invite right away here in the next 5 or 10 minutes, they're a lot more eager to leave that for you. And then also the delivery method. If they know what they're looking for, sometimes they may be kind of clueless. Sometimes they're thinking, well, is it going to come in a mailer or is someone going to come out with a clipboard? Just let them know, hey, I'm going to make this really easy on you. I'm going to send you a text. Just click the link and it'll guide you through. Obviously, there are some use cases in which you might want to do an email, but text really is king here, and we'll kind of share some stats on that in one of these other tips. But then let them know what aspect of your business you want feedback on. Like Dan was saying, you can kind of coach them a little bit. They're not going to write a review on the car or the quality of the car. Let them review the whole experience and kind of talk them through that. Say, hey, mention my name in there, or give me specific feedback, or let us know how your day was spent here at the dealership and what you liked, what you didn't like. Sometimes people freeze up, kind of have that writer's block mentality. And so if you can just guide them through it a little bit, give them some coaching, they're going to be a lot more likely to leave one of those higher quality reviews.
Yeah, and with that, it's important to understand, and we get this question all the time, where should I leave reviews? What's going to make the biggest impact? Again, I'm going to say this, and I'm sure someone's going to try and fight me on it, and please go ahead. What we are finding is 80% of people, when they go to search for vehicles, are starting in a search type of platform, right? So when everybody says, hey, the #1 lead source is third-party vendors, I hear you, that's awesome, but 80% of people start on search. So it's kind of the precursor is what comes before that. So that's why we say focus on the sites that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, which is going to be Google, and believe it or not, Facebook. They just dropped millions of dollars into their review platform. They're competing against another company who I will not mention, but probably yes. And you're going to get really high SEO impact. I'm sure it feels awesome when you get a ton of reviews on some other site that probably brings you no SEO impact, and you can keep telling everybody around you how you're the best on a no-name site. It does nothing for you except for the fact that you feel good about it. So always start with Google and Facebook. And if you just blow it out of the water and you're the top dealership, that's awesome. Focus on some of those industry-specific sites. That's where again, it's not that they're worthless, it's just let's make sure we put them in the appropriate order. Those sites like Cars.com, DealerRater, Edmunds, get reviews to those sites as well. And to that last point, it drives me nuts when a dealership asks, can you get reviews to this site that has no significance and does not impact my SEO at all? And I'm going to just flat out say no, because it does nothing. We are doing you a disservice by trying to get reviews there. So you should not be focusing on that. And if somebody calls and says, hey, we have a ton of reviews on you on our site, do you want to fix it? Say nope, because I've never heard of you and neither has my customers. So thanks for the call. But again, let's make sure we focus and put in priority, because in auto, sometimes we do get our auto shades on and we think, oh, everybody must do it this way. And they just don't. The reality is Google and Facebook are king. It's where everybody comes to. And then, yes, let's focus on the other ones after that.
Great. So our sixth tip is, if you want customers to see your invites, send them through text message. I'm sure all of us can relate. If we each pulled out our smartphone right now, which has a higher number above it? Is it our text message or is it our email? Our email just has, some cases, hundreds of unread messages, whereas our text, really, we open those quickly. As you can see here, these stats, that text messages have a 99% open rate. That's compared to about a 20% open rate for most emails, whereas also 90% of those messages sent through text are opened within 3 minutes. This really is the way to connect to your customers. All of us are constantly on our smartphones. Text is a very convenient and simple way to communicate. And so the best way to collect reviews is through that channel. Now, our last tip is to streamline the process with an online review management platform. That's really what Podium is. There are others out there, but really, it's a really quick and easy way to manage all of your review invites. Not only can it help you collect reviews, but it helps you manage all of those and consolidate them. As we showed you a little glimpse of earlier, there's a lot of great reporting that can be done when you are collecting all these reviews in one place. It helps you not only monitor those and tease out those trends, but it also helps you respond to those reviews in a timely manner. Rather than you having to log into each of these individual review sites and respond to these reviews one by one, a reputation management or review management platform can help you see what you need to respond to and kind of take those as action items and really be on top of things, so your customers aren't left hanging after they've just aired their grievance or they've given you a lot of praise. You want to be there the same day, hopefully within the hour, letting them know that you appreciate that feedback or that you want to fix what was wrong. So that's pretty much it for the tips and tricks that we wanted to share with you today. We've got a promo code for those of you who are interested in exploring Podium, but we also want to stick around for a few minutes here. If there were any questions that you had through any part of this presentation, we're happy to stick around. Just type them into that control panel you'll see on the side of your screen, and we'll stick around and answer some of those questions. And if we don't get to your questions, we are happy to make sure we get to them through email after the fact. So we'll turn the time over to Nick to kind of guide this Q&A.
Nick, are you on mute?
Yeah, so one of the questions that came in is asking about if we're going to send out this presentation after the fact. We'll send out a recording to those of you who attended. So if you missed any part of it or you want to go back and review some of the things we talked about, you will get a copy of this webinar. All right, so I do see a question about responding to a customer who leaves a review. So yeah, you can. So those reviews are pulled into the Podium dashboard, and you can, in some cases, with some of these more popular sites like Google and Facebook, you can respond directly from the dashboard. You don't even have to link out or go to a different site. For some of the smaller review sites, you simply click on the review in the Podium dashboard, and it will take you over to that review on one of those third-party sites where you can respond to that review. So that is a big piece of it, is responding to those reviews pretty much as quickly as they come in. And we even have notifications so that you can be aware of when reviews of a certain rating come in. That can be, any reviews. You can set it to all reviews, but really we just want to keep you in the loop of any of these customers leaving reviews.
Yeah, so here's another question. Let's say you have a customer's in the store waiting for F&I and says they're having a lousy time. Can you advise the manager instantly? Absolutely. What I love about that question as well is, we were dealing with a customer who actually with the F&I that wasn't going really well, and they left a review and got an instant notification, and then the manager went out and said, oh my gosh, before you leave, I am so sorry about that. We're going to give you a gas card. The customer actually went back and updated their post. I don't know if people are aware, but a customer, when they go back to the review, they're going to get directed to the review they left, and they have the ability to update a previous review. But I think that's a great way, again, and a plugin I'll make as we talk to some of the OEM manufacturers is, reviews are becoming actually more and more important. And so making sure you take care of that stuff beforehand, or if the customer's still there, just go ahead and do it. And then see if they, just say, hey, if you wouldn't mind updating that, or if you wouldn't mind leaving feedback, we'd really appreciate it. That's totally fine. It's something that we encourage dealerships to do all the time.
Yeah, so I've got a question in here about respond to a negative comment left on a Facebook post. So I think this can kind of be broadened out to Facebook posts or even Facebook reviews. If, of course, or the question is if it's okay to delete them. And I think in most cases it's probably outside of your power to delete them. If it is, slanderous or abusive or against the terms of Facebook, oftentimes you can flag that review and maybe get Facebook to remove it for you. If it is just somebody, being kind of an unreasonable person, but they actually were a real customer, my best advice to you is simply, kind of eat that crow. Just be apologetic to them online, be professional, level-headed, apologetic. Let them know, hey, I'm so sorry you feel that way. You don't have to admit fault even. Just let them know you're sorry, and then try and take that conversation offline. So I would say something to the effect of, hey, I'm so sorry you felt that way. I'd love to chat with you. I'm the manager here. Give me a call on my direct line and leave your phone number, or you can leave an email or something like that. But really just try to diffuse the situation in the public setting so that those other customers or prospective customers that are seeing that see that you are a very reasonable and level-headed person to deal with. and then try and take it offline so that it doesn't escalate and become, this huge, visible, bad interaction with this unhappy customer. So I'd say diffuse, apologize, take it offline. All right. So I've got a question about adding a video to someone's review. So this is something that they could probably manage on their own. I honestly haven't seen a whole lot of video reviews. I do know with Google and Facebook, if they're leaving that review on their mobile phone, I mean it's the same functionality as if they had gone to that website organically. So yeah, there's absolutely a way for them to add rich content like images or things like that. Video I'm a little inexperienced on. I haven't actually seen that happen, but I imagine if it's possible to leave a video review on one of these review sites that they absolutely could. So it just depends on, I guess, the review site that they choose to leave their review on.
Excellent recommendations and guidance from all of you gentlemen. Again, this is Nick Zulovich here. I apologize for the audio issues that I was having, but just a reminder that we are recording today's session, and so please keep watch of your inbox for a link to that recording to revisit the great data analysis and recommendations that Rob and Dan have shared, and again, a lot of great information, gentlemen. Again, how can Podium be of assistance to dealerships to get a handle on reviews and to really take advantage of the capabilities of what they can do?
Yeah, I mean, Podium is a full-on customer interaction platform. We obviously have some messaging pieces to it to help you connect with customers that are either reaching out to you through Google or Facebook or your own website. But of course, the focus of this webinar was mainly reviews. We're the best in the biz as far as collecting reviews and getting results. We work closely with Google and Facebook to make sure that we are, within their terms of use and making sure that we're not doing anything that they don't approve of, but also we're helping you get authentic and real reviews from your real customers, and they're going to help you in the long term. We're going to help you not only collect those reviews up front, but we're going to help you turn those reviews into actionable insights that can help you improve your business and grow your business. Anything to add to that, Dan?
Yeah, no, I think look, like the reality is this is in the last 2 years, Google has made a number, probably about a dozen, and I'm not even kidding, changes to the review platform. And so it's important to understand that, again, nobody controls Google. They're their own beast, and it's kind of the game we play. And we didn't ask for it, same as Facebook. But if you want to win, then you have to play there. And our goal is really just helping educate as many businesses as we can on what changes they're making, what changes they're planning on making. Because again, we know that, with the announcement 2 weeks ago about Google deleting reviews for companies that ReviewGate, we want to get that out there so that people don't get upset or frustrated when that change comes. So again, let us know how we can help. Really, even if you're not buying our product, we love to chat about what changes are coming and just make sure everybody's staying on top of it. And the people who want to win do win. I think that's the greatest part about it is reviews are something you can control. It's totally in your wheelhouse. I know it sounds weird, but again, we can show you how to do it and talk about it and just make sure that your business looks as good online as it does in the dealership. So thanks again for the time.
Yeah, before we close up, I did have one other question come in that I think is a really good one to address. It's just talking about, which review sites your customers can post to through Podium. And, can you customize that and select that? Yeah, absolutely. the review sites we mentioned in the webinar, Google, Facebook, Cars, Edmunds, DealerRater, you can prioritize those how you want to. So you can direct customers to one or multiple. We typically encourage you to, as we said, focus on the most impactful review sites and really cut out the fat. Get as few steps to leave a review as possible, and you're going to get a lot better conversion rate. But it's definitely okay to adjust those or to rotate those review sites as needed. And then oftentimes in the review invite flow, maybe a customer, on the off chance they don't have a Google login, you do want to have another option for them to leave feedback. And so we do encourage you to have, maybe 2 or 3 review sites in there that are options for them to leave reviews. And we prioritize those. So maybe you put Google first, and if they don't have a Google login, then the second priority would be Facebook or DealerRater. And they can opt to go to the review site they're most familiar with or most comfortable with. And the other part of that question is, does that just post the review to the one site they choose, or does it post to all the sites simultaneously? And this brings up an important piece, kind of in the vein of what Dan was talking about, is content syndication. That's, just duplicate content, or like writing a review and posting that same review on multiple sites. This is actually something both Google and Facebook really fight against. They don't want you to be putting duplicate content all over the web, because in a lot of ways this is very spammy. It feels very inauthentic. So really the strategy we recommend is, just rotate those sites as needed and get unique reviews from unique customers on all of them. You don't want to duplicate or syndicate that content, or you're putting yourself at risk to have that content removed. But that was a great question. I think that's it for questions. I'll let Nick take it away.
Gentlemen, again, that's Rob Mayfield and Dan Wright from Podium with great analysis and recommendations on how to leverage reviews to help move metal at your store. And of course, more information is available at their website at podium.com. Dan, Rob, thank you so much for sharing the great insight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
And again, please be sure to keep watch of your inbox for a link to the recording of our session. For our entire team, I'm Nick Zulovich of Cherokee Media Group, and we look forward to having you again next time.